everybody, and welcome back to 31 Days of Indie Horror. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and I am my co-host.
Co-host Joe Turek here. I don't
Yes,
know, is it co-host?
I guess co-host because you're hosting it with me. It could be also
Gotcha.
special guest. I usually say special guest, but special guest or co-host. I mean, Paul and I interchange those sometimes, and I allow him to call somebody a co-host when I'm like, I think it's more of a special guest, you know.
Yeah,
But yes. So welcome, Joe. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm kind of cool today. It's
You
like
didn't
cool air and stuff like that. It's just been cool for me today.
I know, and the thunderstorming and all that around
Yeah,
here. I don't know how it is over there, but here in Williamsburg, it's been thunderstorming pretty
yeah,
much all week. I mean, off and on. So
yeah.
today's been actually pretty good. So hopefully,
It
it
mean
stays that way
it
for tomorrow.
yeah.
You know.
It leads into fall is coming in the air.
By the way, we were shooting this in July, and it is about like the day before Deadpool and Wolverine. So I am super stoked. And I knew that I couldn't get you for tomorrow, most likely, because you'll probably be actually in the theater when I would normally do this kind of show and stuff. But you
Yeah,
know,
I'm seeing one of the first ones. Yeah,
oh yeah, I'm seeing that at 3. So I'm super stoked.
you're actually earlier than me, but
Yeah.
anyways.
Oh, I mean, that was the earliest they could get it, and I just want to get it before I see any freaking spoilers, you know? Somebody already posted like the post-credit scene. I'm like, really? Like on YouTube, or at
I
least they said it, and I'm like, I don't want to hit that, you know? Like I
yeah.
want to see it tomorrow.
I think I might have heard something, but I'm not. I'm just sort of disregarding and just trying to steer clear of it. And it's that way with a lot of movies because it's just I don't know why people get so enjoying us of spoiling it for people and stuff like that. Not just that, but any movie. It's like let people enjoy the movies for what they are and stuff like
Right.
that. But
But,
that said, us talking about a movie here, it's obviously going to have
well, we are going to
spoilers.
spoil the fuck out of this movie because it's been around since 2008. So if you haven't seen it since 2008, that's not my fault.
Yeah,
And on fact,
watch it, then come back.
yeah, go on Tubi. It's free on Tubi. Go check it out. Most of the movies that we do on 31 Days of Indie Horror are all on Tubi, unless otherwise noted. But yes, The Mill is what we watched and reviewed. Last year I had you for Blood Legend, and this year is, and I don't think I had you for any other ones. That was, I think,
No, it was Blood Legend, though. Something about I can't remember the tagline underneath of it, but yeah, yeah, I
yeah.
remember that.
And
It was
then
something with Ghost or something,
it was
or
a
maybe that was
ghost
the year before.
or a witch one or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Oh,
anyway, we did this one, which was I don't know, it wasn't bad. Like it wasn't like this one had been bad. Paul might not have liked it because it's about a bunch of kids. He would have liked one thing, and I know he would have liked one thing, which is the
oh
puppet
yeah,
guy.
oh
He
he
would
would
have
have.
loved, but he probably would have still got annoyed after a while with it, you know, because I did. Because I was like,
Yeah,
it was cute at first, and then I was like, dude. And then I get it. Like I get it because the guy's a little nuts. Um, I
just a
don't
little bit.
just a little bit crazy. So
Civil maybe.
yeah. So I guess the story goes that there's this mill in Landis, North Carolina, which is a real place. It's a real town. So I guess the director who actually has worked on like Lincoln and as an actor and a bunch of other movies, you know,
Mhm,
he directed this film, and I think he also played a kill one of the I guess feet or whatever of the killer, you know, and stuff like that. And so uh in land there's this mill, and apparently this is a true story.
hmm.
I looked it up on IMDb. It says something about it being a true story. Hold on, let me grab that real quick because
Well, I didn't know that Landis was real at first, but then in the closing credits, they thanked some of the people from around Landis and the power company and all these different things. I was like, oh, it must be a real town then. And yeah, so that's
because I
cool.
at first I thought it was a reference to John Landis, you know, and I thought, is this going to go into a werewolf thing because that's where, you know, right, or whatever, it looked like a ghost thing that change, and it does change. There is a
Hmm.
change to it. It's not. It's set up to make you think that there's a ghost or something, but there really isn't. You know, it's a slasher. Um, But Granger Hines is the director. And like I said, he had done uh Lincoln. He was in the Ballad of Buster Scruggs, which was the
Yeah.
Coen Brothers movie.
Hmm.
He was in a couple episodes of A Man in Full, Doctor Death. Um, he's been in a bunch of different things. So, but this was his, I guess, feature, feature directorial debut. And I think that's all he's ever really, yeah, that's the only thing he's ever directed. Um, I
And was
kind
it?
of
And was
see
that?
why.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Much
There's,
better actor, probably, you
yeah,
know.
and I noticed that one of the actors' last names was Hines. Is that his son, or yeah?
Yeah,
I think,
I would imagine.
yeah, and some in the credits too. He wanted to thank all the fathers that were out there, or something like that. So I'm sure there was some sentimental value to that with family and stuff like that.
Well, this is Austin Hines, and I think that's
Yeah,
the guy who plays Sean.
yes,
That guy. I
yeah,
think guy
yep.
behind me. And I liked what was it, Sean, and what was the other girl's name? The other girl that was that they ended up making out later.
Oh, Whitney, the one who played
Whitney,
Whitney.
Whitney.
I I had to write down the eight characters' names on a sheet of paper and sort of like, okay, cross-reference them here because it's like they had most of them had unique characteristics to them, but there was it took a little bit of time because I was like, okay, who's this? Who's this? Who's this? And what's their should I like them? Should I not like them? And stuff like that.
The ones
Um,
like so there's like Jesse, who's like the hothead of the group, who bully kind of guy who when we first sort of see the group of people, a group of kids, they're what, 20s, something like that. They go into a what is it? I guess they're maybe they're in college age, but I guess they're not old enough to be drinking yet. So the guy there, Ralph, who they call what was his nickname? Um it wasn't like
Stud Muffin.
Stud Muffin, who was played by a guy named like David Haynes or something
Yeah.
like that. And
I like when he said his name. He said, "I am Ralph."
I'm
It's like
Ralph.
Ralph.
I
Just the
thought
way
Ralph
he's.
was gonna be like the killer or something, you know? Like I thought he was gonna be the because I know the girl did a lot of it, you know.
Yeah. Well, he
Uh
was involved in it though, so
he
he was
was
like sort of.
involved, he was helping her out. But he wasn't
Yeah.
the maybe he did kill a couple people. But I don't know because it doesn't really show the kills necessarily, like which each person did, right?
Yeah. But some of it was some of the deaths were like by the animal or like the insects or the bugs or the snakes or whatever, and they were wrangling that 'cause they put some of them away at the end. So I think he was involved in it, but yeah, was there a third person? Because I don't think that was really Ralph. Because obviously, you even mentioned already that it was the director whose legs were there, a killer, but it
Well,
just seemed like there might have been a third person,
there
maybe.
was a lot of people who actually were even women that were like that were viewed as like that had the killer thing in there in their credits. It said
Hmm.
like, background killers, or whatever. So like there were people who, I mean, just basically feet, legs, arms, whatever they showed to basically get people to believe that there's a killer and that or whatever. That was it. And so that was the thing. And I liked that you brought up the animals and stuff and the insects and the I mean the spiders and the snake and the it was really funny to see like there was like wranglers at the end in the credits and it said
Hmm.
like spider and rat wrangler, and then there was its own thing was a snake wranglers. So they had some pretty, they're, it looked like they had some money, you know. um I don't know if the director was friends with or the producers, whoever had control over it, were friends with the people in the town, or whatever, because I mean they had the police stuff, they had a fire truck, and everything said Landis on it, so
Hmm.
it was really their fire trucks and stuff. I've never seen that though. Like they had it they had they went into that one part in the middle of the fire truck. I've never seen them do that. And I was like, "Oh, that's pretty neat."
Hmm.
Like it was pretty cool to see like because at first I was like, "Whoa, they got a budget."
Yeah.
Right? They were able to get these things and I'm like, I think these were probably favors, like the
Mhm.
town was like, "Oh, you're gonna put Landis on the map by putting us in this movie." Didn't really, sadly, it didn't really blow up or do anything. And then I looked at IMDb and it only had two reviews and both were kind of negative, you know,
Yeah.
on it, which I kind of felt was a little harsh. I think for an independent film, this is not that bad, you know.
Hmm.
I wouldn't put it really high on the stinkometer scale. Probably put it at like, 6 or 5, which is kind of lower.
Yeah,
Uh,
I would have probably been in the 6, 7 area and stuff like that. But I think my biggest thing, well, there was a couple things, but like I had a little bit of trouble with the lighting and just the way it just looked in general, because it just seemed like it was like, okay, you can get a little bit better lighting here to see some of these faces. And I know it's dark and it's supposed to, and that adds to the
and
mystery, but
I don't know who like because you can't really power up that place, right? If they're trying to
yeah.
make it look abandoned, so you have to bring in like lights that don't are like battery powered lights and stuff like
Hmm.
that and whatnot. And I mean, I know there's a lot of problems with doing things. And I'm a lot nicer than like Paul
Hmm.
is because if Paul can't see something, it basically puts him to sleep, you know. And everything he can't
Yeah.
hear and he can't see anything. It just can't he's bored by it,
Yeah. Yeah, well, I did have to throw the captions on because there was a couple of times I was like, "What are they saying?" and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And I know you do that
I
pretty
do that all the
regularly.
time, like
Yeah,
all the time.
but there
It's
was a couple of times I wanted to hear a couple things, and then I also at the beginning because I wanted to watch the beginning again at the end, just so I could see how it played out. But yeah, the sound was a little. I wasn't. I think the lighting to me, just the way it was shot, even the daytime scenes, the way that they had them, it looked like, and it might have been nighttime outside, but it looked a little. Uh, I I I had a little bit of trouble with that,
right.
but I know independent productions, you give a little bit, obviously give a little bit of leeway for that
I
too.
try to. I mean,
Hmm.
um, especially if this is your first feature film,
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
and well, a lot of the first feature films we see the actor, especially if he's a real actor, like the guy's a real actor,
Hmm.
he didn't put himself in the lead, or he didn't even put himself as like a real part, he put himself as like one of the act, and I bet he did that out of necessity, just because like maybe they didn't have anybody that could do it right then, so he stepped up and did it. So, you know, I. I like that. But when it's your first film, it's hard to judge that because you're just learning, and you're gonna make some mistakes or whatever. But sometimes we don't. Sometimes we're a little harder on those movies.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
um, I don't know. I once again I like the animals. When the guy was like something bit me, it bit his dick. It looked like. So I was like,
Yeah.
Jesus.
But
And
I didn't feel sorry for him at all. I mean, because the way
well,
he was treating the girl and stuff, that was just, I mean, I feel sorry that something like that happens. I mean, it's just general empathy for another person, but it's just like in these horror movies, it's like sometimes the people are kind of you kind of cheer that they get their comeuppance in a way at
well,
times.
some of them, yes. And that's what you're supposed to do for a horror film. You're
Hmm.
supposed to make some characters that are assholes that you just don't care about. And if they die, they die. But you're also supposed to make some people sympathetic and you're supposed to root for them to win at the end. Honestly, I didn't care whether any of these guys lived or died, you know?
There was the one guy that the three of the guys was to me came across bad just from the get-go. And I mean, the one that didn't was Sean. But then
Right.
it's like with all the stuff going on, he starts making out with Whitney. It's
I
like
know.
okay, well, he's going out the window too now. So it's like all the guys were just basically, I was like, oh, whatever happens,
Well, I mean, she
happens.
was also making out with him, and they both had like, their significant others. Well, we never saw, I don't think we ever saw Sean's girlfriend after she fell down that shaft, did we?
No, he kept saying Amber, Amber,
Yeah. So
and
she's there somewhere.
yeah,
And
I mean, I like she probably, and even if she did make it from the fall, she probably got bit by something down there.
yeah, that was the one thing I was like thinking after when he first got attacked, I go, yeah, why are they in this fucking mill? Like so the thing about abandoned mills and other things, abandoned buildings and this is why like so Paul and I went into the abandoned building right next to our studio and we went to get things that they had there that they just weren't using. And they allowed, like Fort Monroe said, we could have whatever, right?
Hmm.
If there was like a chair or whatever there, we just gotta clean it up and bring it in. So
Yeah,
we did that. We went out there, we picked up things, but I was like thinking the whole time, why am I here? Like this is like insect slash spider slash rat heaven, like
yeah,
this is their mecca, you know?
mhm.
And
Yeah. You don't know what could be in some of those buildings, and we had when we shot a couple things, we went around a couple of the. Remember, we went to some of the buildings looking for the right places to shoot and stuff like that, and it kind of reminded me. I was like of situations like that. We were going around some of these areas, and it's like what could possibly really we
be
lift
be
up.
around here. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we lift something up, and there could be or we go to the restroom and a snake could be there for all
Yeah.
we know.
I mean, for all we know, that's where a snake could be living. It's dark,
Mhm.
damp, and that was water that he was in,
Yeah,
so sort of made sense, but disgusting, like duh. There's no
yeah.
plumbing there, so
Well, didn't well, the one thing we made it didn't have plumbing in the one area. Remember, I think one of those areas we didn't have plumbing and stuff like that. But we did have permission to shoot, so that's different. But uh, it's just stuff like watching this. I was sort of thinking. I was like, this is something that Paul and I even talked about making an idea of a film. It's and using some of those different areas in the building, but it's. Uh, yeah, you don't know what could be there because it's not
mm.
maintained and sprayed and also when you have like when you piss off a psycho person at a convenience store and I guess his daughter or sister or whatever it is,
It was
um,
sister,
it was a sister. Oh, that's right, 'cause
'cause
he said it on the
that's
phone. Yeah,
yeah, she's
Carrie.
in the yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like yeah, but you don't know what you're getting when you go into some of those places. So it's just but yeah, they done pissed off the wrong people. I guess is the other thing because
Well,
yeah,
that's who he was talking to in the beginning, right? Too.
yeah, yeah. I
Uh,
thought about that, and I think they did something with a little bit of a flashback for it or something, or because they had flashbacks a couple different times, or flash forwards, I think even because when they were walking around and they showed like something was going to happen or happened a little bit later, I think. So it was um
so
yeah, so
what I don't get, and I didn't like see how they figured this out because like there was one part where the dude roofied her, and put two freaking things in there. Like, what are you doing? One is enough. Like putting two, you can literally kill somebody, probably. And then the girl drank it and then went, you know, fell asleep or whatever.
but
And
I'm thinking she didn't drink it is probably or she acted like she drank it, but she
well, then
knew.
how does she know? Did she see him putting it in
Maybe
there?
maybe she did, or maybe the other killer
That
told
should
her.
have been part of the flashbacks. You,
Yeah.
that's the thing with these flashbacks. You can show
Hmm.
so many times, so many different things, and then the flashbacks almost didn't even make any sense. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
just,
They had the flashbacks at the end when she was looking around and she held the door open, and she looked over at the dogs, and you could tell that it was her being involved in it. But I don't think they really answered the part. I just figured she just didn't drink it. But
mhm.
how would she have known? And
Yeah.
but in the context of when it happened, I was like, this is going into like a horror movies can be dark just in general, but it seems like there's a line to cross, and it seemed like it was getting close to crossing a line. And I was just like, well, I mean, what with what he was doing and then what he did after he drugged her, I was like, they tried to play it a little bit of a laugh, but it was also very, very creepy, just and just kind of disgusting. Um,
Yeah, I don't even think it. I don't think I never laughed. I felt really kind of
well, that
disturbed by his character a little bit.
I'm saying they play it for a laugh, and that he had a Jason Biggs American Pie moment.
I don't. I never laughed at that. I just thought, oh, it's kind of gross.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
they did it where it wasn't funny, and I think it
Mhm.
wasn't funny because it was drawn out.
Yeah,
I think that's what ruined it for me and made me go, why is this guy still like going on about like, dude, once you have that moment, it's over and that's
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Then you just clean yourself up and say, well, I guess that didn't work out, or
yeah.
or
Yeah,
you
but then they
wait.
cut. Yeah, yeah. I know. Wait,
Like
but
that's what I thought
then
that was gonna happen. I was like, I'm like, I don't want to see this. Like this is really just fucked up.
yeah, but then they cut to one of the guy the that was the guy Jesse making out with Whitney, I think it was and 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 it she just snapped and was like, no, 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 I don't want you and stuff like that, or
Hmm.
I'm just and I'm not really sure why she I guess it just didn't feel it, but that was kind of weird. And then but then the way Jesse responded to her, and then even after he got bit and all, I mean he was asking for help, but then he got really nasty with her, and it was just like I was like, there's probably more to that relationship than that. Maybe that's why Whitney got with Sean anyway. So I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, I understood why Whitney got with Sean. I didn't understand why Sean got with Whitney. I mean, his girl fell down a fucking shaft. Like he shouldn't be like he
Yeah,
shouldn't be like macking with the chick like that, like just because they're locked in a room together.
yeah, and
Like,
I mean, and then they both, regardless of how troubled the Whitney's relationship was, and Sean and Amber's, I don't think was troubled, but just they both of them had their other halves were in either dead or in major peril. I mean,
right.
being
Probably like
bitten
both
or falling
dead.
down. Yeah, yeah. So it's just it to me that just didn't seem like a. And I know craziness brings out the, but it just didn't seem to fit at all to me. I mean, I could see them getting emotional, maybe hugging and stuff like that, but kissing, I was just like, I kind of dismissed that as I
Who was
didn't
the
really care
other
for that.
guy? There was one other guy, and wasn't
Are you
it
talking about, was it Kyle? Was he?
Kyle? And he was the one who, like, I think started laughing when the guy had the puppet in his hand and everything, and
Mm,
he was just like laughing at him, saying, "Why are you still?" Because he was like delirious because he had gotten, I think he got bitten by the spiders and
yeah, he got
stuff.
bitten by the spiders, and his girlfriend got bitten by, was it
She was
spiders
my favorite
and leeches?
character. The one that
He's
got bit
one,
by the spiders,
yeah.
Whitney, not Whitney,
No,
uh,
Madison.
Madison. Oh, I love Madison. She was the greatest character in the whole thing. She was so cute. She was so funny. I looked her up and actually bought a movie that she's in that
Oh, really?
it's called Blood Relic. Got it for like $5 on
Hmm.
eBay. So that's coming to me. But I just absolutely adored her. What's her name? The girl who played Madison is Kelly Ray. Um, and she was born in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I'm guessing that's how she came apart. But she's also in a movie called, oh, she just was in one called Site 13.
Hmm.
Um, so it looks, I don't know.
Well, she got naked in this one, and then she got bitten all up in that as well. And then she got, I like the way from a horror element, like I guess the way I say it, but when I guess she was paralyzed by the spiders or the whatever was biting her, because then they had that claw thing come down on her back, or he put that thing in there that jolted her.
Yeah.
Uh, and I kind of, I mean, for a horror kill, that was pretty good.
Holy shit, she's been in some big stuff, man. No wonder I like her.
Oh,
Um, she was in a movie called Hunting Season. I believe I have that. That's nope, I don't have that one. But that's done by this guy Tony Urban. Zombies Anonymous, which I really, really want to see.
yeah.
Um,
It looks like
I-
she's just come back after a long break
yeah,
from acting for like 15 years or so. So,
yeah,
um,
good for her. Maybe we'll get her for one of our movies if she's like if she still lives in North Carolina. Let's grab her, have her come out to Virginia. Um, I liked her in it because I just thought she had the nicest personality in a way. Like she was flirty and silly, but she was also just very sweet and seemed very down to earth, you know?
Yeah.
And whatnot. I liked her a lot. She's my favorite. Um,
Well, my favorite, and it still holds true even at the end. But mine was Carrie.
even the girl that the
Yeah,
killer. Yeah.
I liked her with the innocence aspect or perceived innocence in hindsight because it's really
Well,
not.
she was about to do strip poker with the dude.
Or was
And
she?
well, I mean, she said she would. I mean, I assumed if they, I don't know why. Well, I guess because he drugged her and everything at that time. And I say he drugged her like that because, like, I still don't know if she was drugged or if she knew she was being drugged and she just went with it or something. And like she would
Yeah.
wake up when the guy's gone and go off and do stuff and come back and lay down and pretend to be dead. I mean, he didn't even check her pulse or nothing, man.
He checked. He says she's not breathing or like she's
Well,
now.
he told those guys
Well,
but
but
he,
he went and checked her the one time, and but I mean the thing is, I mean we're looking at trying to rely on Nick having any sort of reasonable judgment of anything because it was I think there was at least two people going on inside that inside him.
right
Uh,
whenever he had that puppet in his hand,
yeah,
he
but I mean
started.
I liked her character because she was distinctly different. I mean I guess she was kind of close to the way Amber's character was, but as being kind of nice and had a perceived she had a real perceived innocence. Carrie did, but at least through most of the film she was perceived to be innocent. But uh, in the end, not so much. But I kind of I dug the twist. But at the same time, it's like, does it make sense with everything throughout? I'm not 100% if it truly does, but
Mhm.
it's fine. It's fine for what this was as an independent horror film.
Yeah,
Um, it,
it, it wasn't like the twist was like, yeah, the twist was like you've seen it before.
yeah,
Like it's
yeah.
nothing new. Um, you know, it I uh I would have loved a twist where there was a ghost there, you know, or
Mhm.
something too. So there's the killer and the killer meets the ghost at the end or something. That would have been fun. But
Yeah, because none of the seven bad or seven college kids taking Carrie out of the equation because I mean she's ultimately one of the killers. Taking this other seven, none of them survived that we know of. I mean, it doesn't seem like it.
yeah,
So
not
I mean,
even the one kid with the puppet because you see the puppet by itself, or whatever, meaning
yeah,
he's been freed of that puppet right now
yeah,
and probably dead. But
yeah.
they
Because it
said
was
like
like,
he's moved away or something or is gone.
and that's why I watched the beginning again because it's like they were like they said something like we have one suspect that we're investigating and stuff like that. So thinking back when they say, or they didn't say they had somebody in custody. They said they have a suspect that they're looking at or something like that. And I'm imagining it's Nick's character. And so it was like, is he dead? I think he's dead because I think they probably just threw him down the well or that little shaft thing or whatever it was, or they just threw the puppet in there for whatever it was worth.
So yeah,
But
so when I said before, the reference is made in the movie about a man that lost his hand in an industrial accident at the mill on Halloween night. This is true, and the man's family actually brought the man's artificial hand on location at the mill for all to see. So the family of the person who actually did lose his hand, they apparently the family brought the hand so that the cast and crew could see the real hand that they're talking about in the movie.
are you talking about like the prosthetic hand that he got in
No,
place of?
the real hand that the guy lost.
How would it have been kept?
Probably gross. I don't know. I
I
have
don't
no
know.
idea.
whatever they tried to do there, were they trying to do good luck or
Oh,
just
it's an
bring?
artificial hand. Okay.
So
Artificial.
it was like the prosthetic that they, because I'm sure that guy died by it's probably past, or well, I guess.
Right.
Yeah,
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 probably
yeah,
because it's supposed to have been like what 1943 or something that
yeah,
happened. So,
yeah.
um,
So
awarded the following at the sixth New Bern Independent Filmmakers Conference and won Best Lighting.
oh, I know,
That might have
I
been a
know,
mess up, but all right.
I know New Bern, and yeah, I've been to New Bern a number of times down there in Carolina, but didn't know they had a festival, but that's kind of cool. I mean,
Well, it's called
I
the
guess,
Independent Filmmakers Conference. So
well,
we'll have to look that up.
yeah, because maybe something that we do could possibly get entered somewhere.
Maybe.
Um,
Best special
I
effects makeup, viewer's choice, best horror movie, best actor, Robert Rainbolt, best screenplay, Harry L. Welch Jr. Robert Rainbolt was the guy with the
was he Nick?
he was Nick with the puppet.
Yeah,
He I think he was like the one. I don't know. He looked like an actor. Like he looked like somebody who would eventually get off and do big things or something, to me. That's like when I
yeah.
saw him, I was like, hope he's a big star by now.
He kind of resembled to me, and also being in a horror movie in the way that he was coming across. It was like an evil Randy, like Jamie Kennedy or something like that.
I mean, he was a nerdy type and
Yeah,
he was supposed to be the rich boy, but I'm like, was he really that rich? Because they
yeah.
kept calling him Rich Boy, didn't they? Like,
Well, yeah, because I think it was the people that bought the mill from somebody. I kind of missed all the roundabout that they did with the story in the mill in the present day sense, but yeah. Well, I guess if it won an award for lighting, I guess I need to step that back. I don't know. I don't know what Newburgh. To me, it just seemed a little awkward to look at times, and I was like, I wanted to see stuff a
maybe it
little
looks
bit
better
better.
on the big screen, or
Yeah.
like maybe Tubi doesn't have the best compression of it or something. I mean, that
Yeah.
happens,
Hmm.
and especially when you show like a film on Tubi or something, they're gonna give you whatever they can, and sometimes the compression gets worse when it gets on Tubi. So I don't blame whatever. Maybe it looks better on the big screen. But still, it did not look good for us. So
Yeah.
we wouldn't have voted it for best lighting. Yeah,
Yeah.
if we did like a
And
festival, you
yeah,
know.
so I mean, and yeah, maybe a DVD of it looks a little bit better too. So, wow.
Yeah, there is no DVD of this, I don't think.
Oh, really?
Well, I looked up, I couldn't find it. Maybe there is one, but I could not find it on eBay. So I'm kind of disappointed because that I would have bought that if it were $5 too, because
Yeah, yeah,
I don't hate the movie, but I mean, I might watch it again sometime, especially if it gets taken off of Tubi.
yeah. And I think the reviews talked a little bit about this, and I agree completely with this part of it. It did delve into a lot of the conventional slasher stuff,
Mm.
but it gave a few little twists to it that I kind of enjoyed.
I did
Seeing, I
like the
mean,
animals, the
yeah,
creatures in there, like biting them and stuff,
yeah,
attacking them, because like you just don't see that. Now, it is sort of disappointing to see that it was a setup by some girl who brought the creatures in there and stuff, the animals in there. It would have been nicer if it were just so happened that they picked the wrong mill to be at, and that's where the movie was. Like they didn't even need the slasher element. They could have just made it scary, just like being of the elements, being in a place like they shouldn't have been in, you know?
yeah, and then that could have boded well with the ghost element too. I mean, that could have just been like in the background, in the mind, like, oh, there's something else going on here as well as
I
all this
know.
chaos of the animals. Yeah, I
Um,
agree. I agree with that. Uh, yeah. One thing, another thing that I just couldn't help but crack up at, when they opened the door and they showed the dogs and they were growling. They were sitting there, just sitting there all chill on the side instead of growling. I was like, no, don't do that. Then they started chasing them a little bit, which was
Yeah,
kind
well,
of
the chasing, and then you could hear the fake growling while they were
yeah,
chasing him, and I was like, "There's no way those dogs are making that noise. Those dogs are probably going, oh, I'm gonna get a treat. Oh, I'm gonna get a treat. Oh, I'm gonna get a treat." Like that's the dogs right then,
yeah,
you know,
yeah. They
or
were
whatever.
they were probably the family, or I don't know if they were like trained, and stuff like that. But
No, they're
anytime,
probably trained dogs. I mean, it seemed like they're
yeah,
trained animals.
yeah.
Period.
Anytime dogs are in stuff, though, I'm usually, as long as they don't. I don't ever want the dogs to get killed, though. So
They didn't
there's
kill the
there's
dogs. They didn't kill spoiler alert, but they didn't kill the dogs, which is good.
yep.
The dogs didn't die. Like there's a website called
Does the
dogs
dog die or something like that? Yeah,
does the dogs die in this film or something. And
yeah.
you can look it up. You can look up if a dog is dead in the film or not.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, you can kill all 7 or 8 people in the mill. Just
there's
don't
only been
don't
two movies where I was happy that the dog died.
Cujo.
And Cujo was one, absolutely. And the other one was Man's Best Friend, which is like basically Cujo Part Two, like
Yeah, yeah,
robotic Cujo. Or not robotic, but genetic Cujo.
yep.
And I love Man's Best Friend, and I used to actually be really sad that the dog died. Then I rewatched it with Paul, and I was like, I have well, as an adult, I have a different opinion as when I had a kid. Like a kid, I was like, oh, this is so sad. As an adult, I'm like, this dog was just never given that chance. So, like if the dog, if the dog's like this, he's not going to be able to be fixed,
Yeah.
and unfortunately he's gonna have to die. Then they introduce the one at the end that,
Hmm.
there's another man's best friend, potentially for a sequel, and then
I think they did a sequel, didn't they?
I don't think so.
No, I thought maybe it was like a different cast. It might have been straight to video or something like that. I thought I saw
Um,
Zeglinda, but
Let me see. Let me find out real quick. Man's best friend.
and I doubt that wasn't like Ali Sheedy and Lance Henriksen in it or something, if I'm not
Yeah, I don't
mistaken.
see any sequels, but our buddy DJ Perry made a
Well, he did.
movie
He did.
called
Yeah,
Man's Best Friend. And I saw that, I
yeah.
was like, all right.
And
Yeah.
in uh and I think that DJ did a really good job with that movie too.
I
That
actually
that
never
man
saw I
best friend.
never saw it yet. I wanted to see
Yeah.
it eventually.
Actually, it deals with dogs in it as well. But he plays main lead, suffering PTSD and stuff like that. So
Oh,
but I think DJ does a good job, and DJ's pretty good. So I
I
enjoy his
love
stuff, and it's not just because I'm his friend. It's been a while since I've talked with him, but yeah, he's a good guy.
he talks to me all the time, but like it's like random. Like he asked me if I reviewed Night Chills yet on Blu-ray, and I said not yet. We're gonna review it for Indie Film Cafe. It's I hope he's all right with it probably getting a high on the stinkometer. I don't think it'll get a 10, but it won't. It probably won't get like a 2, or a 3 or whatever.
Yeah, I told you before on Night Chills. I saw that when we were up there for the festival and the short film that we did, that John and I,
Block.
yeah, the flock, and Night Chills got its premiere at that festival. So
Awesome.
I'm glad they put that out on. You said you have it on
Oh,
Blu-ray.
yeah, and they're
I think
they're
they just
just
I think they re-released it or remastered it or whatever, cleaned it up and
I've
from.
talked to DJ about the first movie he did in the woods, and that's coming on Blu-ray, and that one's rougher than Night Chills. Like that was his
Mhm.
first one, and it was pretty rough and pretty whatever. But then he made stuff like uh
Now there's the was it Wicked Spring?
Wicked was Wicked Spring, but I'm
Yeah,
thinking of more of like the ones he did with like he did like Venus uh
oh yeah, from Venus.
from Venus. Ah, man. That movie was just fun to me. Like
Yeah.
it's goofy and stuff. And then
The
he did
tangy
his family
guacamole and
stuff.
so
Oh
yeah.
God, I love Tengu Guacamole. That movie was so funny. And so Paul would hate it because it's probably it like feels like it's like spring break type stuff, and he would just be like, I don't want to, blah 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 blah. Yeah, right. Like he'd hate that shit. Um, but
Mm.
me, I think it's hilarious. and I know a lot of the people that were involved with these movies. So
Yeah.
it's different when you know the people involved and you know how much they're really trying and that they're, they put something out that's pretty remarkable in that aspect,
And that's what was cool when we saw Night Chills up there at the festival because there was a lot of people that was involved in the making of it there, and then they were working with us on stuff too. So that was cool there. And taking it back to the mill here, I'm sure that I would think that they would have maybe some people. Maybe this was just a one-off thing, but that different communities get together and make films and stuff like that.
you took it back to the mill. Went back to the mill.
I'm trying to with it. I
No,
mean,
I'm just
I
saying you
don't.
went back to the mill, you
Back
know.
to the mill. Drum roll.
Um, yeah, yeah, no pun intended.
There you go.
So there you go. So to be honest, I mean, I've seen some pretty bad movies this 31 Days of Indie Horror, some pretty bad ones. And this one wasn't. I like when somebody asked me, "What did you think of that?" Because I told them that I watched a movie called The Mill, right? It was okay. I mean,
Yeah.
it was not, you know, I've seen some better movies,
Hmm.
and I've seen some worse stuff right now, and this is kind of in the middle. This is kind of a meh movie to me. Like I kind of wish I think that's my problem with the movie is that I wanted to like it had more potential to be better than it was and
Hmm.
have like some cool stuff with it. And I feel like, as you said, and that the review said, it went to the standard slasher tropes and stuff.
Hmm.
And when you do that, to me, I feel like a lot of times, you know, um, I guess in 2008 it's different. Now we're in 2024. We gotta be going up above and beyond the standard slasher stuff. Like I understand those get made, those get produced, those get distributed, perfect. But like we gotta go up a and that's where I thought this was gonna go. I didn't think this was gonna go slasher. I thought this was gonna go either ghost story, which would have been cool, or it was gonna go animal like story, where
Yeah.
they all die from all these freak things that live in the freaking mill. And how awesome would that be? Because that would be real, you
Yep.
know? This is why you do not this is why people invite people to people's houses and have sex, like they don't go to a mill that could potentially have spiders and snakes and other creatures.
Hmm.
And then you bring in the slasher route and you have it be the girl put everything in there. How did she bring everything in there? Like how did she put all that stuff in there? Like
Ralph did it.
when? It had to be before they got
It,
in
it,
there.
it had to be the third
That's why
killer.
I thought that that's why that guy was a part of it, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Had to be a third killer because when she was faking like she was hurt or whatever or down in the body, that was not Ralph. You could tell with the arms and the legs, that was not Ralph's physique. So
Right.
there had to be a third person at least.
Yeah.
And they trying to outsmart themselves with some of the different things. It's this is sort of the equivalent to me of indie horror comfort food type of movie. Um, it's watchable. It's not bad. It's not great. It's not memorable. It's not forgettable. It's somewhat forgettable. It's what it is. You can see a lot better. You can see a lot worse.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a meh movie to me, and I think that's almost worse than having a bad movie, because
What?
when you have a bad movie, you know,
Mhm.
like when you have a bad movie, like sometimes those are fun because those are just like, oh my God, that's terrible. Like that acting is
Mhm.
bad, that directing is bad, that writing is terrible. Like they should have done better, right? Like you can laugh at it. When you have a meh movie, you're kind of like bored, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
I watched the whole thing. It wasn't a straight through. I didn't I might have paused to like feed my dog or something, but like I didn't feed humans, you know.
Yeah.
But like that. But like I didn't want to turn this off and be like, I gotta go do something else for a while and then come back, you know? Like
Hmm.
some movies make me do that because they're
Yeah.
so freaking boring that I'm like, oh God, when will this movie end?
Well, I think what I'm hearing from you on the meh side is really it's like what the turn they could have done with the insects and all there could have been so much different and made it such a different, unique movie. And
I think
but
so. I think it could
yeah.
have been I think it could have been a cool animal killer movie and that come out of nowhere. It could have been a cool ghost movie, right? The ghost shuts the door, ghost attacks, kills the people one by one, whenever they're separated, you know. That would be fun and then locks them into the mill and they can't escape. Like there's so many things that could have gone, but the choice that they made to make it be a human slasher
Mhm.
makes it just boring to me. Like it just feels like everything else I've ever seen. And I can't give people credit for that. Now, like I said, I this is his first feature film, and for the director to make this as his first feature film isn't terrible. However, the problem being like if I were a producer, I would have been like, "Oh, let me see one of your movies," right? I'd be
Mhm.
like, "Is the next movie gonna be like this?" Because this was not what I would, this is not what
Mhm.
I would want. And I know he could probably do better.
Mhm.
He seems to be a very good actor. He's working on a Spielberg movie. He's got to be a pretty damn good actor. You know,
Mhm.
though we've worked. You particularly have worked with a guy who's been on a Spielberg movie. Robert Shepard.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, yeah.
he was the man who pronounced Lincoln dead at the end of Lincoln.
Mm.
So,
True. Yeah.
so you got to work with a, big star there, buddy. Um, I I think I had a scene in that scene with him, but
Hmm.
anyway, that's for the love spell. I thought that was pretty cool. Um,
Yes.
but he, that's the thing is like, you know, if you're that good of an actor and you're that good of, you could potentially be a good director. Just me, and then maybe this isn't his fault. This is the script. So whoever the guy who wrote the script, who got best script, I guarantee there wasn't that many movies picked that year or something because the fact that it had best writing and uh best writing and lighting, ugh,
Yeah. Maybe it was one of the festivals that only had like one or two entries or something or three entries.
yeah. And they're like,
But
oh, that you get that. The guys, this is the only thing he's ever written, except he wrote a movie that's in pre-production. Okay, it's in pre-production, and already they have a a, a time. Was it a number? Like it says an hour and 50 minutes. I'm like, the movie hasn't even been made yet. You can't say how long the running time is. You can say
yeah,
how long you hope it is,
yeah,
but
either that's a made up number or
that's a made-up number.
made up time, or it's no longer in pre-production if it is complete.
But it's called Mermaid's Treasure, and it said Captain Mike Daniels, who found Blackbeard's flagship, the Queen Anne's Revenge, had been advising and meeting with the writer.
Hmm.
So it sounds like a pirate movie, family pirate movie ish kind of thing. Um, that
Hmm.
sounds cool.
But yeah,
Um,
well,
but
looking back. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, but I hope it's better than this.
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple good kills in this that I kind they had to cut away. They couldn't show it in there, but I like when they ramped up the fan or whatever it was on
Yeah, I didn't like how they cut away from that
for
and
Kai.
kind of
Well, I'm sure that's budget there. I mean, they
right. Then don't show it. Then don't do that as the thing. Like
yeah.
I get it's kind of cool that happened, but don't do it, you know.
Yeah. And then some of the other, like, so we talked about a couple of the other deaths and stuff like that. It was kind of
I
it
think
was,
biting your cock is probably the worst way to go as a guy. You know, like especially when it's a venomous snake, right? And it's like, hey, no, that
and
was
then
so dark I didn't even see it. I didn't know what it was. Um,
well, did you see the and then they showed the snake come out around. I mean, any snake's big to me, but I mean, really, but it's when the girl went back into the bathroom, it came. I was like, "What is that in the corner?" And then it's so coming out and all that stuff. It was a tiny. It didn't seem that big, but I was like, "Is that?" I don't know if that's what comment that's making about him, but it's like just the idea of getting bit by a snake is just that's just
I don't,
brutal.
yeah, I don't think it mattered what size the snake was. If the snake can bite, if it is
Hmm.
venomous, I don't know if it was or not, that's particular snake that they had.
Now
Uh,
there was a celebrity that I read about recently that had I think actually might have been an athlete with one of my Miami teams or something, but he said that some lizard or something came up through his toilet seat and he found it in his bathroom, like in the toilet, and it's like so in some areas that it could be common for something like that to happen, but uh, to me that I'm cautious with them. The rest of them, I'm always looking in there. Just
Madeline Deering and I watched a movie called Blood Lake that unfortunately had Shannon Doherty, who passed away recently. So rest in peace, Shannon. Actually, after we'd already done the video of it, so I couldn't say anything. But unfortunately, but uh, she um she was in the movie with Christopher Lloyd, and the lamprey, that the killer lampreys and stuff were going through the sewer pipes and went up the was it up the toilet and bit Christopher Lloyd as the mayor on the ass. And I was very sad because it already was doing Jaws references and stuff, especially with the mayor making sure
Mhm.
that everybody had to be in the thing, that they didn't have that line where it said, I think you're going to ignore this particular problem. They'll swims up and bites you in the ass. And they didn't have that line in the movie, which would have been, everybody would have laughed, right? And then it would
Mhm.
have been laughed even more when it swam up and bit him in the ass. I'm
They
like,
missed it.
they missed the chance. I don't know. I just
Yeah.
think I feel like if anything, it was just making, whatever. So
Mhm.
I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah. Well, I think the only time that I've seen anything like that it, it brings back it's what we've talked about it before, but in Porky's, when they put the snake up the toilet on Miss Bobbricker, I mean, but that's obviously for comedy, but
well, also for comedy, the Ghoulies,
oh
the
yeah.
Ghoulies coming out, which actually I pointed this out, I think, plenty of times too, but in Ghoulies, that wasn't originally in the original movie. In the original movie, when they shot it, there was no ghoulie coming out of the toilet. But when they did the marketing for it, somebody thought it would be funny to have the ghoulie coming out of the toilet, like the posters. So everybody, before they went to see it, they saw the posters and they thought that that was a scene in the movie. So they complained, at like, what was your problem? My problem was I was expecting a ghoulie to come out of the toilet, and it
Well,
didn't happen.
wasn't it on one of the posters?
Right, that's what I'm saying. They saw
Yeah.
the poster
Yeah.
and they thought,
Yeah.
oh, I didn't come out of the toilet. So Charles Band had to go and film that scene, put it in somewhere, insert it somewhere just for the movie,
Yeah.
just to appease the people. But that was smart marketing. Like that
Mhm.
was a great idea. And
'Cause I think that was the video box, if I'm not
I
mistaken,
know
on one
that
of them.
became the big video box, and that was the poster that they
Hmm.
marketed it for before they did the test screening, and the test screening people were pissed because Charles Band talked about this in one of his live events that I went to, and I was laughing my ass off, going, that is funny.
Hmm.
So he very very smart ideas of how to run a company. Like, you know, give the people what they want. And I think that's the problem with a lot of filmmakers is they never give the people what they want. They just give the people what they want, you know. And that I feel like should be fixed. All filmmakers should look more into what people really want these days, you know. People, to go into, some different shows and movies in real, like Hollywood today, people are not wanting certain things. Don't put them in it. Like, get away
I think
from it.
I think that really works if you're really trying to sell it, but if you're just trying to make something to be artistic, then it's a little bit of a different story.
Right.
But a lot,
If you don't care about money and this is just something you're doing for fun, that's one thing. But if you're a company, I'm gonna say it flat out. I'm going to Deadpool and Wolverine. That's a movie everybody wants. Everybody's been excited about that. It's gonna do. I think it's gonna do gangbusters for Disney, and then they're gonna put out like Agatha All Along and Captain America, Brave New World, which actually both of them look pretty fun,
Mhm.
So I'm hoping that they're good. But
Yeah.
like a lot of people didn't want the Marvels. Like
Mhm.
they didn't care about Miss Marvel. Well,
Yeah.
care about Miss Marvel, but they don't care about Captain Marvel.
Yeah,
And
I know we're saying this before we've seen it and stuff like that. So I don't know that this may or may not age well after it comes out, but I don't think the game changer of the long-term success or return to success for Marvel is going to be incumbent upon Deadpool Wolverine. It has to do good, or else if it does bad, then it's going to be really trouble. But if it's good, I think the real test is going to be when Captain America comes out next year
right,
because Deadpool is different because it's R-rated and it has a different type of pull to it. So it can survive on its own.
I
And
agree
it's
100%.
going to, but Captain America is going to be the tell, and this Agatha thing to a
Well,
lesser degree. But
when I
Captain America is going to be big or
when
not
I
big.
when I say gangbusters, I think it's gonna well, and that's gonna do gang. I think that movie is gonna do very well.
Hmm.
Whether or not that means that that's going to change, that's not gonna that's just going to get Disney back to the billions, you know,
Yeah.
right? And that was what they've been struggling with because they've
Yeah.
like the last few movies, even like Black Panther and stuff, have been just low. They don't
Yeah.
have they don't have whatever the thing is. So they
Yeah.
just need to basically make something fun again,
Hmm.
right? And you know, I mean, not to misquote a different, tagline thing, but like let's make films fun again,
Hmm.
and I that's how I view it. Like, Disney should be back to being fun.
Hmm.
And I feel like they're kind of losing it because a lot of times they just put in their like, things which they don't believe they're putting, or at least they don't believe they're putting in things. They think they're still doing whatever. No,
Hmm.
they're putting in their own agendas, they're putting their own things in there. When they if Deadpool and Wolverine is exactly what I think it's going to be. It's going to be the exact movie that they haven't made in ages.
Yeah.
They haven't made it
Yeah.
since like Avengers Endgame, maybe.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
maybe, I think I just saw Twisters recently, and there's a lot of repetition in that, but there was also fun, and there was no agenda being preached out in that
right.
movie, and I think that's good.
I think that's why it
I
did
don't,
pretty well in the
yeah,
box office.
I don't have problem with representation and stuff like that because I think that's there's places for all that type of stuff. But some of these movies, we have to get back to being fun and enjoyable type of movies. And the serious ones can be serious too for whatever they're supposed to be. But the summer popcorn films need to be fun
Summer
and
popcorn films.
and tell a good story. And I think that hopefully we're having a turn with that. And I because it's definitely needed. And I think Deadpool Wolverine is going to be a good turn. It's going to probably be the number one R-rated movie, at least
But
in our,
you know,
if
and
not ever.
And you're right, because the next one up after that is Captain America, and already people are just making a big deal out of the fact that Sam Wilson took over, which was
Yeah,
in the comics. So this
yeah,
isn't like this isn't new ground that they're breaking, this is
Yeah.
something that they've already had planned for a while.
Yeah.
And I like Sam Wilson. I like Anthony Mackie a lot,
Hmm.
and the trailer looks fun. I liked. I At first I didn't like the Winter Soldier and Falcon, story. But it grew on me, and the more I watch it, the more
Hmm.
fun I have with it, especially after I've already seen the whole thing. And I don't know, I enjoyed it. It's not my favorite of the TV shows or whatever, but it's
Hmm.
enjoyable watch, and you can rewatch it and still enjoy it. So I feel like um, I'm hoping that that movie does very well. And I'm afraid it might not because it doesn't have, they're gonna need something like how they had Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman
Hmm.
in there. They're gonna need to put, I know they've done a lot of retreads and they put in Giancarlo Esposito and stuff like that into it. And I think that's gonna be great. But I think they need something big. I think they
Yeah.
need, and the Red Hulk, a lot of people are excited about that. So I'm hoping,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, maybe in Deadpool Wolverine, there'll be a good launch point in it that will carry over into the next phase of Marvel with Captain America. And I mean, and once we see that, it'll be like, oh, there is something here that they're starting to to set it up to where there
I
is something, a definite plan in place. Because it seems like the last couple of years there really hasn't been too much of a plan, and it's just been a lot of hit and miss type of stuff for the most part, mostly misses. And
Evan did say something. Maybe I'll wait till after this thing and talk to you because I don't want to say
mhm,
anything that might spoil stuff or whatever. But and it's not doesn't spoil the movie. It just
mhm.
spoils like the universe, I guess, of
We've
it.
we've gone really way away from the mill here.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's not much else to talk about with the mill. I mean, the mill is
Yeah,
mill's the mill.
yeah,
Even the title is kind of blah. I was
yeah.
a
'Cause
little worried.
they could have called it something else, like what was it called? Skeet's Mill or Skeet Town or something. There was
Yeah,
something else. I mean, they could, yeah, because it's like, I mean, the mill's been used for what TV, well, TV series more recently, but um,
yeah,
other stuff. So it could have been a little bit more. It could have been more. Could have been
yeah.
more.
I think you say that about almost anything these days. A lot of movies, could have been more, but especially titles. Like titles are hard, man. I mean, like I come up with titles all the time, but I'm like, I don't know. Um, but I would suggest, I mean, because it is 31 days of indie horror and this is October time and Halloween time, I would suggest seeing The Mill. Go watch it on Tubi.
Yeah,
Check it
you
out.
can you
Hopefully
can
you already
definitely,
have.
yeah, and if you're going through Tubi, I mean, there's a lot of other ones that this is a lot better than. It's not, like I said earlier, we both said not the best, but definitely not the worst by any stretch.
Definitely not the worst. We've seen worse. Even Blood Legend was worse than this movie. But
Yeah.
I think this was I mean this is just standard, and I hate to say it, but films these days shouldn't be standard. You know, they should be above standard. They should be, below, as I said before, above standard or below standard. I still love below standard movies. If you were that bad, I'm laughing at you because you're that bad. Like you did something good to me.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
at least gave me something to enjoy.
and I don't think that the opinion would have changed if I would have seen this 15 years ago versus seeing it today. I mean, it
Yeah.
and I mean, there's stuff being made like that now, and there's stuff that'll be made like better than that. Yeah,
Well,
it's just
and we're in a worse position now because I guarantee you this costs like I don't know a decent penny, especially if they did have to get like the town cops and fire people involved or whatever. But um the, the biggest problem I think is uh the budgets nowadays are like 20 grand, right, to make a movie
mhm,
and everything. You don't really need that much money. But my issue with that is people make standard films
mhm,
again. And that would normally sound great, right? But
mhm,
like it's boring. It's kind of like you're not really giving us something like, Paul always says he likes movies with crazy titles. Like he always says stuff like, what is it?
Oh, he always comes
Like
up with something crossing like,
vampire, robot, laser, penguins from outer space. And if somebody made a movie like that, Paul would just like want to grab and get his hooves on it. Just like, give me. But
so
when you
how
make
what
something
would
like The
what
Mill, you know,
yeah, what could you name the mill that would appeal to Paul? It'd be something like we'd have to have geez, where do you even start? Insect,
snake,
um, yeah,
snake,
it,
rats, rats in the mill. I don't know.
yeah,
I don't think there's a title that would have attracted Paul. I think Paul would hate this movie. Um, Other than Puppet.
yeah,
And
but
even then, I think it would drive him crazy after a while because he'd just be like, this guy's annoying. And he kind of was. And then, like,
yeah,
after a while, I'm like, dude,
yeah, so
either you can't help it, which it didn't seem like he could, or
mhm,
whatever, like it had a mind of its own, which also would have been a cool movie, like a
mhm.
puppet hand killer thing, you know, and he just kept killing everybody with the puppet, in the mill.
I'm trying to think if something like that's been done. I'm sure there's probably something out there.
I'm sure. But
Go down those rabbit holes because like, yeah,
hand
I
puppet massacre, I would watch that, you
yeah,
know?
I fall asleep sometimes watching movies on Tubi and wake up and it's put something else on, and I'm like, some of those movies that it puts on in place afterwards, I'm like waking up and some of those things can change your life. I tell you what, you wake up and you're half asleep and you're seeing like pinatas and puppets and this and that and
Yeah.
God knows what else going on. It's like,
Yeah,
but
you're probably talking about that pinata, I don't know, pinata movie that was
yeah,
out,
there was
or
a there was a
Killer Pinata. Killer
it
Pinata.
was Killer Pinata, and there was something else I think with it. But anyways, it was like,
There's
but
also one
yeah,
called Pinata Island, you know,
oh,
which
but
had like the guy from Buffy in it, Xander from Buffy.
uh, so I mean,
Tons of
there's
good stuff.
a ton of it, and this is just this is another one, and it's there.
Yeah, that was all right. It was okay. It was meh, you know. Would I own this? Yeah, probably just to have it, If I could give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down,
No,
maybe
if it's that sort of a cut, then I'd still have to go down, even though it
I
is
still
an
have to
indie
go
film.
down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not
Oh,
a
that sucks.
it's not a it's not a like a putting your thumb down and like saying oh and
Like out
growling in
of
so many ways.
stars, I would give this 2.5 stars, like out of five.
I'd probably go well out of five. I'd probably go two. Yeah,
Yeah,
two and a half.
two and
Yeah,
a half. Yeah.
it's one of those you go like this with your thumb. It's like you sort of yeah,
Yeah, because
but
I
it's
think when I give 3 stars, that's a thumbs up. But
yeah
when it's
yeah
2.5 and lower, that's a thumbs down.
yeah yeah because it's like when you sometimes it's like you see movies and you're just like you want to see it. It's like "Ugh, no, it's
Yeah.
like you know clearly clear as day. Um, yeah, so there was some there was some good stuff in this, and there was more unfortunately outweighed it. But uh, it'd be interesting if they had a DVD out there that had a commentary or making of or
Yeah,
something like
that would
that.
be
Because I
cool.
would I'm always interested to see how different independent productions, especially independent productions, are made and how they went about it. Even if it is a package documentary type of thing or something like that, it's good to see how the real people got involved in making it and stuff like that, and if it how it went. But unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that's the case with this one.
All right. Well, I
All
think
right.
that about wraps it up. That just
Yeah.
summed up the movie. All right. Well, thank you, Joe. This has been awesome. I'm really excited to have you on here and to do this. I mean, as far as movies go, it could have been worse, so you were sort of lucky. We've shown you worse on Indie Film Cafe, don't get me wrong. But this,
Yep, and I'm sure I'll get another one at some point in the future.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will.
I think
Um,
Paul's chomping at the bit to give me one at some point.
well, he's already given you a lot, like already. I mean, he gave
Yeah.
you one that hasn't come out yet on Indie Film Cafe, and I don't know if it will. I think it comes out this month of October. So, but there's one that, was directed by a certain fella that has a name like the devil, and I think he thought you would leave, and you would have not wanted to stay. You stayed around. I was shocked. So thank you, Joe. That was
Yeah.
awesome. That
Yep.
actually made it more fun for me because I was like, oh man, you're gonna give us a different like feeling to it, or whatever.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. Did not cross any of those lines.
it was you,
And
me, Paul, and Gary on that one.
oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, we did two with Gary.
Yep.
Um, but anyway,
Yep.
we got a chance to have you on, so that's awesome. We really appreciate it. And yeah, everybody else, join me tomorrow for a new episode. I've got, let's see, who I have yet? Um, yes. Oh man. So tomorrow will be Killer Mermaid. I guess I'll tell that already. 'Cause if you lasted all the way to here, you get to hear what I have next. And we already reviewed it. That one
Yep.
was worse than this one because that one was just way boring and
Oh,
not even fun boring, you know.
yeah.
But
Those are. Yeah.
yeah, those are the worst.
Yeah.
But all right, well, if you guys lasted all the way through this, thank you so much. Join us tomorrow for a brand new for join me tomorrow for a brand new episode, and join Joe for stuff on Indie Film Cafe. I think October is going to be your month of like I think you did 3 episodes in October, so there you go.
The good,
Um,
the bad, and the ugly.
maybe
I,
all
I,
are I think all
I,
of them might be bad. You don't know.
yeah. Well.
We'll see.
Yep.
All
Yep.
right,
There you go.
everybody. Have fun and hope you guys enjoyed this. Till then,
Bye.
bye.